Hey there, I'm Steve Loflin, and welcome to ScholarScoop. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with someone who's been changing students' lives for decades. Dr. Stacy Jones is the Dean of Students and Assistant Vice President at the University of Alabama. Dr. Jones is one of those people who makes an impact everywhere she goes. I've met so many students who told me how she supported them, encouraged them, and helped make their college experience truly unforgettable. In our conversation today, she shares the lessons that she's learned from over 30 years of serving students. Everything from taking initiative to meet the people on campus who can make a difference in your college experience, to balancing independence and family expectations, to finding your own path when life takes unexpected twists and turns. Whether you're a high school student preparing for college, a parent guiding your student, or someone who just believes in the power of education, you're going to get so much from this one. Now, let's get some ScholarScoop with Dr. Stacy Jones. Hey there, Stacy. Thank you so much for jumping on and having a great, what I'm sure is going to be a great ScholarScoop conversation. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping. It's a beautiful day.
I think it's always a beautiful day at the University of Alabama, isn't it?
Abs-
That's what I hear. I hear that all the time. Well, I know we have a lot that I would like to cover with you because I think that you have been doing such an incredible job at serving students for so long that I think you're just an abundance of wisdom and great advice. And I would just like to tap into that just a little bit so we can give our audience a little bit more insight into student services and ways to take advantage of all the student services that exist on campus. So are you up for that?
I am definitely up for that.
Awesome. So first of all, you're currently serving as the Dean of Students, right?
Yes, that is my role.
That is an incredibly important role at your institution and all institutions. And what I'd like to get into in just a little bit is how students can actually maximize their ability to understand all the services and resources that are made available to them through the Dean of Students office and student affairs generally. But maybe before that, can we tap a little bit into your kind of collegiate journey? What was it like for you when you think back to getting started in college? How did you make a decision about where you wanted to go to school? What do you think when you think back on it was the highlights of your college experience?
So, whether to go to college or not was never a question. It was an expectation. You were going to college no matter what. I did not want to go any place near home, but I didn't go too far away either. So I settled for the place that my aunt, who is just 4 years older than me, she came to the University of Alabama. So I thought if it was good enough for Aunt Wanda, it's good enough for Stacy. So then I left my mother sitting on the front porch as me and my friend got in her deuce and a quarter. We called it the White Ghost because it was a huge white car,
Uh-huh.
and we packed it up and we headed to campus down a 45-minute drive from Birmingham, Alabama to Tuscaloosa.
So I think that's the story of a lot of students that are making decisions about where to go to college. Sometimes it's an expectation, so they don't really factor into the equation of maybe I don't even want to go to college, but they feel this expectation. And then on the other hand, a lot of times the decision revolves around somewhat of a legacy situation, right? Like I know someone who went to school there. I know someone that has told me about that. When you think back on that, is there anything you would have done any differently now that you've had so much life experience since then?
The only thing that I might have done differently is spend a little bit more time thinking about what I really wanted to study. Growing up, again, the expectation is that I would go into the medical field of some sort, whether it was a nurse, a physical therapist, doctor, something, that I would do those things. And I don't think I took the time to actually explore what that meant, but
Hmm.
I'm from a different generation. So when we went to school on our own. Our parents did not come with us. There was no parent orientation. It
Right.
was You and your friend pack it up, y'all drive down to the place and get settled in and call home and let them know you made it. So that this is a very different time, but I think I would have explored more about what it would have actually meant to be in the medical field. What I learned when I got to college is that you had to take biology for majors, and I couldn't fathom cutting up animals.
Oh, okay.
That made my decision for me really quickly because I'm a little squeamish, so there was no way that I was dissecting anything in the biology for majors, so
Which is probably important for you to realize before you go too far down the path of the medical profession,
mhm.
because there's probably going to be something related to dissection of even people at some point, right? So, one of the things that you just said that I really think about sometimes when I'm talking to students is the parent involvement. And while
Yeah.
there is the expectation that probably was coming from your family that you're going to go to college and you just knew that was an expectation, I think now parents have a tendency to sometimes maybe over engineer the student's experience. And I grew up similar to you. Although when I was an undergrad, there was a parent component to orientation, but I strongly did not want my parents to go. Like I did not want them to be there. I was embarrassed that they were actually showing up with me. And they did go and they did have their version of it. But we did everything, or at least I did everything that I could to stay as far away from them as possible. And I think that was true of most students there. Like, I don't know why my parents are here. I don't really know what it's not their going to college. It's my going to college. Why are they here? Now we live in a space where colleges are very accommodating to parents. I think sometimes maybe even more accommodating to the parents than the students in some ways. But I think trying to get my head around how do we help students actually understand that it is their college experience? They're laying out the path and journey forward for their life, not their parents' life. And what can you do to help students try to have some sort of knowledge or something in their toolbox to help if they feel like their parents are maybe too involved?
I tend to when I meet parents and students, I create opportunities to get the students alone and or get the parents alone. So we have a little system in our office. When a parent and a student, whether their perspective of the or they've already committed to the university, we get them in, we have a nice conversation, and we have the swag closet. So anybody that a student that comes to visit my office gets information about all the services we provide. And because they visited, then I get my assistant, Bria, to say, "Hey, come with me. Let me show you some things and introduce you to some other folks in the office." And I'll say, "Mom and Dad, you stay here. Let's just chat." And
Okay.
so we start having conversations about what college is like. And I do some subtle hints like when your child comes to college, you know how you raise them, but you have to trust them. Now, I'm not saying don't have Life 365 or the Guardian,
Right.
whatever that is,
Right.
have those things, but do things like establish family time. Is there like one day a week that we all can get on a call together and talk about what happened during your week? And that way, your student isn't constantly sitting there waiting and expecting conversation with you every day, all day. You're allowing them to grow up, to be responsible, to be accountable for what you taught them. But then you're giving them the space to come back and say, Mom, I turned all my clothes pink. Whatever the story is, or
Right.
me and my roommate, I don't know if we're getting along, but allow them space to grow up. And then I have a similar conversation with the students when I invite them back and I say, now make sure you're not calling your mom every day. You're off to school because you are a young adult. So you're supposed to be taking care of yourself. So the whole notion that I kind of try to separate the students from their parents a little bit, have
Mhm.
some individual conversations, and then when they both come back together, I said, now, Mom, I'm going to tell you this, Mom and Dad, sometimes your students are going to tell me things that you need to know, but I'm not going to tell you. I will be here with them. I will support them and help them and encourage them to tell you things. But I won't tell you because I won't break their confidence because they need a safe place to go to have conversations. And they don't want to feel like you're going to tattle on them.
Hmm.
So that's some of the stuff I do personally when working with students.
Well, I mean, that also tells me that's what makes you a really great dean of students because you're actually helping to educate people how to make the most of the college experience on the parent and family side and also on the student side. And I
Yeah.
think what's really great about this is hopefully this will get a lot of students to hear this that maybe don't make it into their dean of students office to get those things. And that's what makes me think like, so when you get the chance to talk to students in your office, what initially brings them in? Like, do you encourage people at orientation or someplace to drop by the dean of students office, or how would someone actually make their way to your office so that they can have these like insightful, great conversations with you?
So a number of ways. When we sit on panels, we offer students the opportunity to drop by, to see our office, to meet our staff, to learn about our services. We do tabling during orientation and admitted Tide days and preview days, all of these different programs, we
Mhm,
always have a presence. I go on recruiting trips when we're
mhm,
looking at students who are trying to make the decision. Maybe they've been invited, but they haven't accepted yet. So I also attend recruiting trips. So all those ways, I always invite people, but it can be something as simple as I was standing in Starbucks in the summertime during orientation, and sometimes I like to pay it forward. So I'll say, "Hey, these 4 people behind me, can you get their drinks?" And so
mhm,
then they get up to the register, they don't have a bill, and they're like, "What happened?" And they point at me, and then we start just a natural conversation. I never tell them who I am until they
mhm.
specifically ask. So it could be something as simple as a casual encounter in one of my pay it forward moments when I'm just buying somebody some coffee or tea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've known so many students over the years that have had the privilege of getting to know you and it's consistently comes back that you're one of the most supportive people ever on campus and wanting to make the experience for students really incredible. What you just said is something that I think so many students need to hear is that you have to take some initiative to actually meet the people who can actually be impactful to your college experience. And I think
Yeah.
it's true whether taking the initiative to go say hi and introduce yourself to the dean of students or even to a faculty member or to other people on campus. Like, what's your take, generally speaking, beyond the way that you do it? Like, how is it that students can feel more comfortable about reaching out to people on campus that could potentially help them in ways they don't even realize? Do you see that as being kind of a missing opportunity sometimes for students because they don't do that?
Well, sometimes it can be a missing opportunity. The issue I sometimes have is there's some students you never see them until they're in the midst of crisis. And
Hmm.
then they're surprised about the wraparound support because you would think at an institution that has more than, I think we're now at 42,000 plus students,
Hmm.
you would expect that, oh, it can't be that personal there. There's so many people, there's so many things. But when a student is sick or injured or has some kind of major life crisis, when the dean of students shows up to the hospital, at your
Hmm.
hospital, to have a conversation, we get letters from parents going, I can't believe that the dean of students came. Or when I went on a recruiting trip recently, I exchanged information with a family and we've been communicating. So her son has now been accepted. She's all excited about him coming here. And she was telling her mother about it. And grandma said, "You mean to tell me the dean of students down there at the university is talking to you on the phone and your son is not even a student?" I was like, like, it's about connections with people and letting people know that when they come here, it may seem like a big campus, but it's really not. It's about relationships and making friends. And so what happens is those students tell other students, "Oh, I know the dean of students. I'm going to come and introduce you to him." And so
Right.
those kinds of things happen, and it makes it really wonderful to be able to engage and touch people's lives and help get them started in a good direction.
Well, I think the thing that you're explaining, at least in my head, is that to build a community or a place where everyone feels connected, it takes some effort for that to become a reality. And just by showing up there doesn't immediately make you feel connected to something. And so if you look at everyone on a college campus, on the side of the equation of the people who are there to make your experience a great experience while you're a student. Like, to meet those people, you have to take some initiative to go and do that. And I think when you start doing that, your community starts forming and you start feeling connected. And then you feel like the resources that are there become much more accessible because you understand who the people are. And so I know from the Dean of Students perspective, I'd like to dive into this a little bit. You know, your umbrella is pretty broad in terms of the services that are executed under kind of your leadership, and this could be different on different campuses, the way that they're structured. But I think from a student affairs angle, you know, you can kind of generally start understanding the things that are student services versus the things that are more academic driven. But in your particular situation, like what are the services that fall under the Dean of Students office?
Well, I'm going to do my best to articulate every one of them. Uh, what I'm most proud of that we do is we have an amazing set of staff members, from student conduct to off-campus resources to student care and well-being to veteran and military affairs to our work with the National Student Exchange Program. And then some of the other ways that we get involved with our students, we have a plethora of services. Student care and well-being is one of the ones that we focus on most often, because that is our care arm. We call
Hmm.
it Bama because we care about all of our students. And some of the things that we do, we have a well-stocked, fully engaged pantry. So
Hmm.
students can come and ask for, or they can apply online, they can come in, make an appointment, all the things. And it's basically a little grocery store. So we have protein, we have fruits and vegetables, cans, grains, all the things. But we also have a closet, and we call it our closet because if a student comes and they have an issue, or maybe they moved into a different room type and they don't have a lot of excess money or whatever, we have a whole closet filled with pillows and blankets and all these wonderful things that our sponsors, supporters help us with. But the most amazing thing that we do is, if a student is in crisis or something happens to a student and parents have to just up and come in the middle of the night, guess what they don't think about? They don't think about all the things that they might need when they get there. Or
Hmm.
they may be at the hospital, go straight to the hospital, be there, and by the time they look up, it's the middle of the night. They're in a place that's not familiar to them. They don't know where to get food and all these things. So we do Bama Cares bags that include some creature comforts like a little soft blanket, a little notepad and pen, but it's also filled with nutritious snacks and some
Hmm.
not so nutritious snacks, and
Comforting,
water,
comforting snacks.
but just things for them, because when you wake up in the middle of the night and you've been with your kid and you're over the rough part, you think, and
Yep.
now I'm hungry and I don't know I don't know about this DoorDash, and oh yeah, I've got that bag they brought me. And so
Mhm.
all the things that you need are right there. And so we try to do things and think about things to help you in your journey, so it's one less thing for you to for you to worry about when you get there. You're not trying to figure out, how am I going to go find some food, or is the cafeteria in the hospital open or whatever. It allows you to stay in the space and be able to focus on your student, and know that there are people who care, and we're there to help organize hotel rooms and all kinds of things. Whatever it is we need to help to do support, we have some wonderful people who support us, in everything that we do along that area. They're all donations, they're all gifts. Like, there's no state appropriation for any of the things that we do through our student care and well-being office in terms of supporting and taking care of students. It's just amazing for us to be able to wrap our arms around our students in that way.
Well, I think just hearing that, I mean, the student wellness and the caring and all of those things is obviously reassuring for parents. And sometimes I think parents at orientation, like what they don't want to have to even think about is if something happened to their student and they needed to be hospitalized or whatever. But I look at like schools like the University of Alabama or a lot of other institutions. The size of the institution is sometimes, you know, quadruple the size of small towns that people actually are sending their students from. And so I think parents should actually be especially happy that the institution has created ways that's going to take care of their student if something should arise. And for most students, that's not their reality. It doesn't happen. But when it does, it's great to know that there is a process to make it as streamlined and as simple for hopefully
Yeah.
the student and also the parents as possible. And so I think this is really consistent across the country at, all institutions. I want to believe, and I think it is true, have a very similar approach to the way that they want to take care of the students. And I think it's all set up to make you feel confident that you're sending your student away to a place that's got the best interest of that student from the classroom to anything that happens, outside of the classroom as well. Um, and so I know for me, like being a student affairs person and you're a student affairs person, I've always felt like the outside of the classroom pieces of college can sometimes be as just as impactful as what you're learning inside the classroom. And because of all that, because of my outside the classroom experience, that's why I wanted to go into student affairs. Was there something pivotal for you that happened that made you want to be committed to student services and all of this care and well-being that you're giving now? Was that related to something that you did as an undergrad potentially?
So when I had my first job, I realized that I was in the wrong field.
Your
I
first
was
job out of college after you graduated?
I realized I am doing absolutely the wrong thing ever. I worked at a newspaper. I was an artist in the
Okay.
advert
Oh.
and so I thought, "This can't be what I'm doing for the rest of my life. How did I get here?" And I had the opportunity to work for the Boys and Girls Club, and
Mhm,
that was the best job ever. Loved, 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 loved it. It was an amazing experience, but I needed to grow,
mhm,
and there was an opportunity to come to work at the university for student media. And what I saw in that position was the opportunity to marry my experience working for the newspaper with my experience working for the Boys and Girls Club. So
mhm.
I and as the production manager, at some point became the production and technology manager because I was working back in the dark ages before we had the World Wide Web and before we actually had email addresses and all those good things in the dark ages. And so I was at the place where I was able to work with students and we were able to move into those spaces because the university was bringing all those things on board. And because I am who I am, I got assigned to committees. And I've never had an inability to share my opinion when asked.
Which is what we love about you, Stacy Jones.
And so in sharing my opinions, a former senior associate vice president said, "I need you to go with me to the College of Education. You need to go to grad school and get a higher education master's degree." And I was like, "You are out of your mind." And so and so off I went, had that conversation, and I met with my chair, who would become my chair. And he said, "Well, while we're here working on your master's, let's go ahead and figure out your doctorate." And I said, "You have got to be out of your mind. We're not doing." So ultimately, I ended up getting a master's and a doctorate, and I finished my master's while I was working for student media. And then I was at this place where, okay, do I continue to do this or do I do something different? And then I was offered an opportunity to come and work in the dean of students office. And that was in 1999.
Wow, like, now you are the dean of students, and I think it's definitely a testimony to your commitment to the institution and to students like we've talked about. But I also think it's important for, everyone to think about the path that you're taking for a career. Sometimes what you think you want to do,
Yes.
you should jump into it, but maybe it doesn't actually prove to be the thing that you really love to do. And so I think it's important to do what you did and not stay in something totally that you don't love. um,
Mhm.
Try something different and see where that takes you. Because life is a long road. Like, right, it's a long journey, and there's lots of opportunities for learning and growth. And I think from the institution perspective, but also from students' perspective, it's really great that you did take the opportunity to come back to campus and you listened to the what you thought was the, unbelievable advice to go get a master's and then a doctorate and all of those things. Because what has happened has been really good for students. So when you think about like when you're talking to students about their careers, do you ever talk to students specifically about thinking of student affairs, or would you rather students sort of come to that decision on their own?
So what I tell students is to think about what they love to do. And I know
Mhm,
they talk about, if you do something what is it? That if you can do something that you don't get paid for the rest of your life, but you
mhm,
have the opportunity to get paid for it, that's the thing that you should be doing. And
right,
so I encounter a lot of students who have family members and parents and grandparents who have expectations of what their life should be, what they should do when they grow up. And I tell them my story. I
mhm,
tell them about the pastor's wife at my church who told my mom, leave that girl alone. She's great with people. She's wonderful with her hands. She'll figure it out." And
mhm,
my mom was like, "No, she's going to be a physical therapist." And she said, "Leave her alone." So I left knowing that my mother wanted me to be a physical therapist. And I signed up. I did all the things when I got to school. But when they told me what we had to do in that biology class,
right,
it was done.
yep,
And it's some courage for me to say to my mom, "Hey, I can't do this." And I remembered the lady from our church saying, "It's okay for you to figure out what you need to do." And I think that that's the lesson for a lot of our students is preparation is wonderful. And if you know at a young age what you want to be for the rest of your life, that's great. But
mhm,
that's not everybody's story.
right,
So you gotta lean into having experiences to help you explore what's interesting for you, what feels good to you, and hopefully what will allow you to eat. Because
right,
we do have to get paid after all.
right, right,
And we're also in a time now, and when I do presentations, especially for middle school students, we talk about you can be almost anything you want in the world. Half of the jobs that exist did not exist when I was growing up. I
right,
would have never even considered being a dean of students because I don't think I knew what that was when I was growing up. And so for me to have this kind of a job now, all because of my trajectory and all the things that I got experience in, then I think about what is that for some of my students. I've just visited with one of my students recently. He is an expert in AI. He just got back. He spent 9 months traveling to 12 countries. This child is from small town Alabama.
mhm,
No, I'm sorry, small town Mississippi. And he said, "Dr. Jones, thank you so much for everything you did for me." And I said, "What did I do besides tell you to stop it and get yourself together?" He said, "You gave me the courage to go out and explore life and to pursue my dreams. And I've done things that my family never thought I would be able to do." And now
yep.
he's a professor at DePaul University.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are the moments that make, looking at your career and your career choices all so rewarding. And, someone told me one time that, when you think about the advice that you're often given, it's like, do something that you're passionate about and do something that really, fulfills a passion. But the truth is, the only way you can know what you're passionate about is from doing lots of different things, right? I don't think you don't immediately know until you start doing something. You're like, I love this and I'm really passionate about it. Or you do something, and you're like, not my thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think what you're passionate about is certainly something that has changed, just like that example that you just gave so many students' lives. And I think that that's something that, you should be really proud of. And I hope that you are. But I think the institution should also just be incredibly, thankful to have you there to do this for the students at the University of Alabama. And it's true for dean of students at lots and lots of colleges and universities. And I do think that students should, like we've talked about, consider to continue taking the initiative to go knock on the door and introduce yourself.
That's a good.
And if you don't do that, your likelihood of getting, much out of a relationship is going to be non-existent because they're going to need to come to you because you're probably not going to immediately find, your way to them. So I think that's really important. I know we're almost out of time. I appreciate you taking this much time to share so much good advice and wisdom. I can't sort of log off without telling you how much I have also appreciated you for the ways that you have supported me and supported NSCS over the years. And just looking at your bookshelf behind you, which I kind of feel is a bit of a shrine to NSCS and the many, many ways that you've also had just as much of an incredible impact on the organization. And I will say the thing that I really talk about a lot, honestly, with people when I'm talking about the NSCS story is you were just saying in 1999 when you came into the Dean of Students office. It was also 1999 when we got on a phone call with you to talk about helping us launch NSCS at the University of Alabama. And it was a long conversation, and you had a lot of questions, and you definitely took it very seriously, which we appreciated. And then when you decided that you would be the founding advisor for NSCS, I feel like you never looked back on that decision, and you just did everything possible to make the chapter successful and help us to grow and to thrive. And so many students have been impacted by NSCS with scholarships and leadership opportunities and travel opportunities. And it's all because you said yes. And I find so many times, and it's frustrating, and I've said this before, maybe even through the ScholarScoop format, but so many institutions can be a culture of no, and they just will say no to students and just start with no. And I want to say thank you to you for being the person that says yes. And I think by saying yes, it's done so much to make a difference for us, but it's also done things for so many organizations that you support and so many students. So I think we can all learn from you and your positivity and your optimism and just your willingness to say yes to things. So thank you so much, Stacy, for being you and all the ways that you make a difference.
I can say I have gained as much from NSCS as you think that I've given it. A lot of my, especially my Dean of Students career, has been all NSCS. And so working with the students and helping them with the many crazy ideas and the
I
many ways that we have supported the community and just the information that I was able to gain from being involved with NSCS and bringing it back to my job, it really informed a lot of things that we were working on. And so when we were doing cutting edge and talking about the sophomore experience, and I'd get back to the office and go, hey, I know y'all know some of this, but have you thought about it from this perspective? And so NSCS has given me so much, and it's helped me in my career. A lot of the connections that I have, a lot of my mentors that I have, I've met through some off the wall way because of my relationship with either my sorority or NSCS. And so it all works together, it all comes together, and it puts you in the place that you're supposed to be, and it allows you to do the things that you were put on this earth to do. So thank you for even making the call and inviting me to this possibility.
Oh, well, thank you. We should just continue this love fest for each other. It's really dynamic, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, thank you for spending some time and just providing so much ScholarScoop today. And this is the kind of thing that I know we'll have to do again sometime in the near future, because there's so many more ways that I think we can get so much good information from you. So thank you so much, Stacy.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.